Hello students, welcome to your civics class. So in today's class, I'm going to continue the same chapter, chapter number 1, the Union Parliament, and the topic to be continued is the powers and the functions of the Union Parliament. So let's start with the topic, control over the executives and the administrative affairs. The Constitution lays down that the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the House of the People. To the House of the People means Lok Sabha, right? So the ministers and the Council of Ministers, they are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. The ministers continued in office so long as they enjoy the confidence of a majority of members in the Lok Sabha. As long as they enjoy the confidence of majority of members in the Lok Sabha, they remain in the office, right? But when no confidence motion is charged against that ministers, in that time they have to resign, right? So there are several devices or ways or means through which the parliament exercises control over the executive. So that means that there are very like different several ways or several means through which the members of parliament members of parliament exercise control over the executive, that is minister and his council of ministers. So number 1 is the question hour. So question hour is interpellation, which is also known as question hour. So how through this question hour, the parliament exercises control over the minister and his council of ministers. The first hour of sitting in both houses is allotted for asking and answering of questions. The purpose of the question is to obtain information on a matter of public importance or to ventilate a grievance. So the first hour of sitting in both the houses is allotted for asking and answering to that questions, right? And the main aim of that asking questions is to obtain informations on the matters regarding the public grievances and public importance. So the question hour keeps the ministers on their toes. Very important sentence. The question hours the question hour keeps the ministers on their toes, right? So it is a valuable protections against injustice and slackness on the part of the government. So the government needs to answer every questions whatever is asked in the joint sitting of the houses. Joint sitting of the houses, or the first hour of sitting in both the houses. Now next is adjournment motion. Now what is adjournment motions and how it is through this adjournment motion, how the parliament exercises control over the ministers. So motions for adjournment furnishes the opportunity to censor the acts of omissions or commissions of ministers and administrators. An adjournment motion pinpoints the failure of the government in the performance of its duties. So it is moved only in the Lok Sabha. So this adjournment motion is only moved in the Lok Sabha. The following are some of the subjects on which adjournment motion were allowed. So examples are given: killing of IPS officer in a place of worship, and second example it's given, death of several persons due to consumption of unlicensed liquor. So in these cases, these type of matters to be taken into the considerations in the parliament, and that matter is to be discussed in the parliament, and in that in these cases the adjournment motion can be passed against the government. So an adjournment motion pinpoints the failure of the government. It shows the failure of the government in the performance of its duties, right? Because various questions arise regarding these matters, and they ask the parliament, or the members of the parliament ask questions related to these matters, and the government has to answer, right? So we can say an adjournment motion pinpoints, shows the failure of the government in the performance of its duties. Now, next is censure motion and no confidence motion. Censure motion may be moved against a group of ministers, or an individual minister can go against or can moved against a group of minister, council of ministers, or an individual, one minister only, expressing a strong disapproval of their policy or some deed, right? Okay. Adoptions of the censure motion would result in the resignation of the adoption of the censure motion would result in the resignation of the government, but a vote of censure against a particular minister has no such effect. If the censure motion is charged against a minister, then it has no effect, right? But whereas no confidence motion, if no confidence motion is charged against a minister, that means that minister has to resign along with the council of ministers. So it's written here, but a vote of censure against a particular minister has no effect. So no confidence motion is moved by a member or leader of oppositions. If the motion is carried, if the motion is passed, then the government has to resign. Government has to resign means whole the council of ministers, they have to resign. That is no confidence motion. So censure motion, if it is charged against a minister, that will that means that particular minister has no such effect. But if no confidence motion is charged against a minister, right, then against a chief minister, for example, then the chief minister has to resign. So chief minister has to resign means, in case of no confidence motion, whole the council of ministers they have to resign. Okay, now monetary controls. When the budget is under considerations, a cut motion may be moved. There are three kinds of cut motions. Parliamentary committee on public accounts ensures the public money is spent in accordance to the with the parliament's decision, right? And it examines reports of the controller and the auditor general of India. So the parliament has made a group committee, right? And these committees, the work of the task of these committees is to have a check on the executives, right? So, and what are their job, what are their tasks? That to ensures that the public accounts ensures that these parliamentary committee on public accounts ensure that the public money is spent according with the parliament's decision or not. And they also examine, they check the reports of the controller and the auditor general of India, right? Okay, now next we have amendment of the constitution. Next is amendment of the constitution. So amendment means changes of the constitutions. So the bill to amend the constitution may originate in either house. It must be passed by each house by a majority of the total membership of that house, as well as by two-third majority of the members present and voting. So we know that ordinary bill is can be produced by both the houses, and it needs to be approved by both the houses, right, sitting together. And that is passed, that bill is passed by each of the house by a majority of the total membership of that house, as well as by two-thirds of the majority of the members present and voting. So if an amendment bill seeks to make changes in some specified matters, it shall also require to be approved at least half of the state legislatures. Many provisions of the constitutions fall under this category, such as distribution of legislative powers between union and states. Second, representation of states in the Union Parliament. Such provisions protect state rights and country's federal setup. It is important to remember that the Constitution Amendment Bill can be initiated only by Parliament, not a state legislatures. So, in case of like distribution of, if there is a case of distribution of legislative powers between the state um, and the union, right, or a state and the state and the union on the three list. So if three list, we know state list, concurrent list, and uh, union list. So on that matter, the parliament uh, decision is final, right? So the parliament will make decision on that matter, right? So it's written, it is important to remember that the constitution amendment, or if there is some amendment in the bill, that can be initiated only by the parliament, not by the state legislature, right? Okay, now, so now next is electoral function. So electoral function, the parliament performs certain electoral duties also, like elected members of both the houses of parliament and members of legislative assembly elect the president. So the president, the vice president, they are indirectly elected by the elected members of the state legislative assemblies. And the speaker is elected by the Lok Sabha from among its members by a simple majority of members present and voting. So these are the electoral functions of the parliament. So they take so they participate in the election of president, vice president, and the speaker of Lok Sabha, right? Okay, now let's move to the next topic, that is the judicial powers of the Union Parliament. So judicial power means related to justice. So the president can be removed from his office by impeachment. So this impeachment is very important uh, term. Impeachment. So now what is impeachment? Impeachment means removal of judges from the high courts and Supreme Court, or removal of vice president and vice president from their office. So that's the impeachment. So uh, a resolution accusing the president may be initiated in either house of the parliament. So if the resolution is passed, or if the resolution is passed in the parliament, then it needs to be approved by both the houses, right? So and it must be passed by a majority of not less than two-thirds of the total membership of the house. So that resolution of removing president, vice president, or the judges of the high court and supreme court, that needs to be what, passed by a majority of not less than two-thirds of the members present and voting. So the charge, and after that the charged should then be investigated by other house, and if the other house finds that the president or the vice president is guilty, then the impeachment succeeds and the president is removed from his or her office. And now same procedure for the removal of the judges of high courts and supreme court, right? Okay, now next is the parliament may punish a person for obstructing the work of the parliament or showing disrespect for the house. So the members of parliament can punish anyone or any person who disrespects or who tries to lower the dignity of the house, or who tries to obstruct the working of the house. So these are the judicial powers of the Union Parliament. Clear? Okay. Two-third majority of the total membership of the house, and this charge should be investigated by the other house, and other, if the other house finds that the president or the vice president is really guilty, then the impeachment succeeds, right? And the president and vice president, or the you can say the judges of the supreme court and high court, can be removed from his or her office. So the procedure is same. So this is a judicial functions, or the one of the judicial powers of the Union Parliament. So the Parliament may punish a person for obstructing the work of Parliament or showing disrespect for the House. So if a person disrespects the or lowers the dignity of the House, then in that case the Parliament may punish that person, right? Okay. These are the judicial powers of the Parliament. So Parliament exercises certain powers of judicial nature as well, right? So these are the judicial powers of the Union Parliament. So let's talk about the other powers and functions. It makes laws regarding the composition and the powers of the Supreme Court. So these are the other functions. Second, the Parliament may establish a common high court for two or more states, right? So we have like one high court for two states or more than two states, right? So the decision is to be made by the, or that decision is made by the Parliament only, right? The Parliament may alter the name of or the boundaries of the state, or the new states may be established by separations of territories from any state. So this is also the function, very important function, right? Next, the Parliament is a supreme forum where people, through their representatives, seek to ventilate their grievances or desires. So the MPs keep a watch over the behavior of administrations. The opposition exposes the weakness and the failures of the government. So opposition, the leader of opposition, their aim is to expose or to show the failure, or to expose the weakness and the failures of the government, ruling government, right? So moreover, there is a series of demonstrations by peasants, workers, women, students and others for or against something when the Lok Sabha is in session. So the demonstrators voice the needs and aspiration of the people, right? So time to time there is demonstrations, there is a series of demonstrations by the peasants, workers, women, students, and others for and against something when the Lok Sabha is in session. So we can say Parliament is a supreme forum. Parliament is a platform where people, through their representatives, because those representatives, those members are chosen by we people or elected by we people, right? So the Parliament is that supreme forum, or that important platform where people, through their representatives, seek to ventilate their grievances and or their desires, right? So now these are the other powers and the functions of the Union Parliament. So children, I'll take your leave now, and in next class, I'll be telling you the exclusive powers of Lok Sabha and exclusive power of Rajya Sabha. Right, children? So, I'll take your leave now. Soon we'll meet in the next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.